Thank you. Hi, everyone. When I tell my friends that I wrote a nonfiction book about the revolution, their eyes glaze over and they remember their 9th grade history teacher, who was also the basketball coach, who read verbatim from a textbook. Now, my job tonight is to try and put some flesh on a lot of dead people for you. But first, just a reminder, the revolution was not about Abe Lincoln. Abe Lincoln was 77 years in the future. I'm also going to refer to American patriots as rebels because, yeah, you notice the logo, because loyalists and Indians were just as patriotic and just as American. The war started because the rebels thought that the British were bad for business, they were taxing without representation, and they were preventing pioneers from settling the West. Obviously, the British had a different perspective. They saw freeloading colonists stealing land from Indians and smuggling and trading with the enemy. The rebels hired as their commander, let's get back to where the war started. It started in Lexington and Concord, Massachusetts. You've heard of that before. Rebels attacked British troops who were on their way to try and capture terrorist leaders and seize their weapons of mass destruction. The rebels chose as their leader Washington. We know Washington, he's on the $1 bill, he looks like our grandmother. But in reality, he was a real tough hombre. He was a brilliant judge of talent. But he wasn't responsible for the first major victory. That honor went to a guy named Benedict Arnold, who helped defeat a British army in northern New York. Now, we know Benedict Arnold because he later switched sides. But his great victory meant that France came into the war, followed by Spain and Holland, and the American Revolution was a world war. In the South, the rebel general never won a battle, but he nevertheless forced a British army north into Virginia. Detractors called this general the deputy savior. At Yorktown, the French forced Washington to rendezvous with them, and together they forced a British army to surrender. Charles O'Hara surrendered to Washington, and coincidentally, 10 years later, he also surrendered to Napoleon. The fighting didn't stop at Yorktown. The war raged in the Caribbean, and a virulently anti-Semitic British admiral devastated a French fleet. However, in Central America and South America and the lower Mississippi River Valley, the Spanish won battles against the British. The British got even, though. At the Rock of Gibraltar, they turned back a combined French and Spanish invasion force, a siege, at the Rock of Gibraltar. It was widely known that the British general was a vegetarian. African Americans escaped by the tens of thousands from slavery into British lines where they were given their freedom in return for fighting against their masters, their rebel masters. Native Americans looked at this thing and they said, well, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So they allied with the British, and for a short time they were able to stop the onslaught of rebel invasions and thievery of their territory. In India, a morbidly obese French commodore nicknamed Admiral Satan teamed up with a Mysorean Muslim named Hyder Ali, and they almost kicked the British out of India. In fact, the last battle of the American Revolution was fought in India. As the last British ships left the now United States, an eyewitness saw the fleet leaving. The eyewitness remembered, nearby from us stood another group, composed of men and women who gazed silently and some fearfully upon the passing ships. For some of the females had lovers and some husbands who were leaving them behind, never probably to see them again. I have some really fun stuff on my website. You can find out about my book and I urge you to visit. Thank you.